Good afternoon, you guys. So today I wanted to share a very special story. God, it's like it's 10:30 and I am so hungry. Like, I'm not even kidding. I had to clock out of work and I'm like, I should go eat and film a video. So anyway, I picked up some Jimmy John's and I also got me a Coke. So anyway, I got an unwich. It's called the Big Italian. It's a number 9 and I got hot peppers on it. It's so good. So while I eat my sandwich, I wanted to share the story of how I ended up getting my dream job a month and several days after I graduated college or university, whatever you want to call it. If you're interested in hearing that story, stick around and yeah. Anyway, here's my unwich. Oh my god, that looks so freaking massive. Look at that.
That was so good. So anyway. Let me paint the picture for you.
The early beginnings of December, which was the very last semester of my 4th year in a university. So basically, I was getting ready to graduate. I have a family member who was going through probation at the time. And my family member just didn't have a ride to their probation officer. And he asked me to take him. I ended up taking him. I ended up giving him a ride. For some reason, I ended up going with him, like inside of the office. I didn't have to do that, but I ended up doing it anyway. I meet his probation officer. I introduce myself to him. I'm like, hi, my name is Christina. I'm so-and-so's family member. Very nice to meet you. And for some reason, I decided to wear like the skinny jean slacks, some closed toe black boots, and like a professional blouse. Something like this, right? Mind you, I was like 24. I had no business dressing like that. Or 23. I don't know why I was dressed like that. I was already changing my habits. I already was calling myself a job. Like, I was changing everything about myself.
At the end of the session, okay, guys, I'm gonna fatty. I have to freaking eat. This is so good. Bomb. Anyway. At the end of the session.
And just so I can explain a little bit about my demeanor, when I'm with this family member, I was very disappointed in his behavior because he was being kind of disrespectful to the probation officer, and I was just there and I was holding him accountable so that he can be respectful to his PO and listen to him, because all the PO was trying to do was help my family member, and I was getting irritated. So I was just upholding myself like very strict, and I don't know if that helped me with the job, but it's just a little bit of a backstory. So the session is coming to an end and his PO is like, hey, so and so, our next appointment needs to be in 2 weeks. Are you available this day? And my family member says, no, I'm not. I don't have a ride. And he goes, well, why don't you have her bring you again? And I checked my calendar and I'm like, I can't that day. I'm graduating that day. And then he's like, you're graduating from what university? And I'm like, from this university. He's like, all right, cool. Like, what's your degree? And I was like, a bachelor's in psychology. And he's like, right on. Like, what are you trying to do with that? And I told him, it is so crazy because I literally named the specific position I wanted. I told him, I want to work with teenagers in a mental health setting. And he goes, no way. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, that was my previous job and I'm still really cool with the supervisor. I can get you a job there. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I would really appreciate that offer. And he's like, okay, well, here's my info. He gave me a business card. I gave him my business card. Immediately, emails were exchanged. He got me in touch with that supervisor. I ended up putting him as a reference, and he ended up being my mentor for at least 1 or 2 years to come.
So give me a sec. Guys, I almost got you.
If you're on a keto diet, this is the perfect thing. It's like high fat, like a little bit of protein and some veggies. It's like
Amazing.
a little fact about my sissy, like my blood sister. She does the weirdest thing, and I wonder if more people do this. Like, she eats her food, and while she's still like enjoying her food, she takes a drink out of her pop. I can't do that. Does anybody else do that? I'm just curious. Anyway, so where was I? Oh my freaking god. So this PO officer, right? Okay, where the fuck was I? Fuck. I get so distracted with my food. It's not even funny, you guys. I believe I was in the section where the PO and I exchanged information, right? Okay, anyway. So graduation day comes around. I end up graduating. I end up walking the stage. And literally a week after my graduation, I ended up applying for the job. And a month later, I had the position. I was already in my field working. In my dream job. Like, that's the job that I wanted. That's the job. It was such a specific job, and I got it. It was so crazy because it was so specific. I don't want to say specific too many times, but I really said, when I told him I want to work with teenagers in a mental health environment, and he was like, great, here, this is the connection. And I took the connection and I applied, and he was a huge piece to that puzzle. Like, I can't even thank him enough. I don't know if he'd be watching this, but thank you so much. You know who you are. I've said thank you before. And one thing that I really saw that was genuine about this person was that when I was like, thank you so much, like, you don't know how much you're changing my life, he told me, save your thank yous. And I'm going to tell you a story. Somebody helped me when I was younger. Someone saw potential in me, and they did the same thing for me. They helped me. They gave me an opportunity, and because of that, when I told that person thank you, they told me to pass that on to help someone else. And that was such a great lesson for me, because I think a lot of us, when we're moving up the ladder, like, not everyone, but some people tend to forget to help others. Like, you don't have to like break your back to help someone else. It could be as simple as like writing a really good reference for someone, like writing a cover letter, writing a reference letter. It could be that simple. Like, we can help other people by doing that. And when he did that for me, he told me, save your thank yous and make sure you help someone else. And that always stuck with me. That always stuck with me. And thank you so much. You know who you are. Thank you for your reference. Thank you for being my mentor. And thank you for teaching me life lessons. Like, I will never forget that lesson. I will never forget the instance when I got this job, based on all of the things that came together for me to get that job. And it was, I'm not even gonna flat out deny it, like, I wouldn't have got that job without this person, because I didn't have any references. I grew up in a part of town. None of my teachers liked me. I didn't have family members that could speak on my behalf, because all my family members are Spanish speaking, except for my sister. And at that time, I didn't think that she would be able to be a reference for me. Like, she's not willing to lie. Or like embellish what I do. You know what I mean? I had like a few friends, like 2 friends that I knew could possibly be a reference. But really, the person who put the icing on the cake and who was able to put good word in for me and say this and that, and was able to get me a higher pay when I started, was him. Because he said that he knew me personally, that like he had mentored me, and he had stated like what I did with like how I succeeded in a mentorship program and stuff like that. He embellished the situation, and I will be forever grateful. He taught me the process of how to get hired. He taught me like what to say in my interview. He didn't just help me with that. Like, I really utilized him as a person to help me. Like, he reviewed my resume. We reviewed questions about what he remembered they asked him. He kind of like told me what to say and what was not okay to say. He helped me a lot. Like, I had millions of questions for him, and not once did he say, you know what, kid, you're annoying. Like, I already gave you this reference. Like, stop. He helped me fully until I got into that job. And still, when I got in that job and I had questions, he was there to help me. I will be eternally grateful. I swear to goodness. That's one thing that that's an experience that no one can ever take away from me, is someone that helpful that came into my life and was able to teach me lessons. Thank you so much. If you ever watch this, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm never gonna forget that, and I will continue to pass that on to other people. I was able to help one person on my come up. One person, and I'm really thankful that that person allowed me to help them, because in reality, you cannot help anyone if they're not willing to receive the help. So thank you so much for that person as well, and I hope that that person also reaches out and helps someone else move up the ladder, because it's difficult when you come from a specific, and I know I'm gonna get backlash for some people, like, no, there isn't that many barriers. There is barriers. Like, if you grow up a certain way, or if you're a certain ethnicity, or have a disability, or there's different barriers that there's underrepresented populations all over America, and I know that it's some more difficult for some people to get ahead than others. And I know I have some things that allow me to get further in life than other people, but I know that there's also people ahead of me that just have so many more options available because of other things that make them privileged. So I'm not here to say like shame or hate. I'm here to just like spread positivity and say like, man, yeah, we live in a big world and there's a lot of negativity, But for how big the world is, like we live pretty comfortable. Like everyone really gets along. If you think of it on a day-to-day basis, you don't see a lot of violence and a lot of crime. It's mostly people really getting along, the majority of people getting along. Like the world is full of good people waiting to help you. And I swear to God, I think that's part of that manifestation process, is like when you really want something and people see that in you, that you're striving so hard for something, if they can help you, they will. And there's so many good people that are willing to reach a hand. I mean, they're not going to reach down and pull you out of the gutter, you know what I mean? You got to put in a lot of footwork. But if you do that, then they'll pull you with them. I had another mentor tell me, her name is Lori, and she told me in a seminar, so I don't know her very personally, but she told me that you always, when you pull upwards, like you always want to have one hand up, like one hand like slightly up, saying please show me and mentor me, and I will follow and I will do the footwork. But then also have one hand kind of like down a little bit, like you need help, brother, sister, I will pull you up. But she said do not reach down, because if you're reaching down, you will tumble out of place. You will get out of your groove. You can't do too much for people. You can't help people that do not want to help themselves. So that's why I always say, if you're trying to manifest something great in your life, don't be that person that like people want to pull you out of the gutter. It's not cool. Like you need to fucking put the footwork in and really help yourself first and motivate yourself and have hope in yourself, and then someone will see the hope in you. And I know that takes a lot. I know I wasn't there for myself for until 4 years of self-development. Like I really had to grow into who I am now and who I'm becoming, because being a person who, it's just a whole change of mind, like having hope and trusting in yourself and the decisions you make. Like I know in my heart that if I make a bad decision, I know that I can fix it, and I know that I will fix it, or that I will try at the very least. I take ownership for the mistakes that I make. And I wasn't like that before. I would always blame like society or my circumstances or et cetera, and that never got me anywhere. So don't be that person that blames everything on everyone. I know sometimes there is places to blame, but it just helps move you forward when you're like, this is my story and I'm gonna write my motherfucking story. Like this is my story, I'm gonna make this story my own. Like fuck you if you didn't give me an opportunity. I'm